to bend phrase and time into something clever.
Hey, I thought I would make a video about Satan. I had a conversation on another thread on YouTube, and I pointed out that God made Satan. And the person wrote back, well, why would God make Satan knowing what Satan would do? Well, that's a good question. Why would God make such an evil being knowing ahead of time all the bad things that Satan would do? Excuse me, I'm trying to adjust my camera. Why would you make your own nemesis? And why would you make your own nemesis be so much weaker than you are? You know, and then when he is weaker than you, why let him run around causing havoc and bad things to happen? Why not just destroy him if he's your nemesis and he causes horrible bad things to... Oh, it's all part of your plan. I understand. So who's the mastermind here behind all this? Satan, who you made to do these bad things and to be your nemesis, but he's not really your nemesis, is he? I'm sorry, I just love to say the word nemesis. It's one of the best words, you know, it just sounds like what it means. Anyway, why would you, if you needed to have a nemesis, why make him weaker than you and then not do anything about him and let him run around causing all kinds of bad things? And he's evil, bad, horrible, but you could stop him at any time, but you don't, because what? He serves a purpose. He serves your purpose. So you let him run around because he's actually doing your work. He's doing what you want him to do, what you need him to do. He fulfills his purpose, and his purpose was given to him by you, his creator. God is the creator of Satan. Everything that Satan does is according to God's divine plan. Satan works for God. So, I came across this website just randomly because I was trying to think, okay, how can I have a discussion about Satan just off the top of my head? Well, the answer is, I can't. So I looked up, what is evil and what does, actually I just looked up, what does Satan do in the Bible? And I found this page that is, what is evil and what evil deeds did Satan do in the Bible? Answer: that which results in pain, sorrow, distress. Satan knowingly lied to Eve in the garden. Genesis 3 verses 1 through 6. Genesis 19 verses 3. I don't know. I'm looking at somebody else's. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, whatever. Whoever wrote this article didn't put this right. It says 19, then there's a space, then 3:14 and 15. What are they saying? Genesis verse? Genesis 19 verses whatever. Okay, forget it. Anyway, it's in Genesis, which resulted in her Adam and all their offspring their death. Okay, maybe a child wrote this article. I'm just reading this for the first time. If I had realized it was written so crappily, I wouldn't have bothered. Okay, so Satan knowingly lies to Eve. And who is in the background whistling a tune with his back turned, acting like he doesn't know any of this is happening? And then when it's all over, he comes into the garden and he's like, why can't I find you? Because Adam and Eve are hiding their nakedness, and God is acting like he doesn't know where they are. The all-knowing, all-powerful God doesn't know where they are. he knew all of this was happening. He knew it was going to happen. He actually made Satan to serve the purpose of being in the garden and to lie to Eve and to deceive Eve, because Eve's deception was all a part of God's plan. Original sin was all a part of God's plan. Man falling and being kicked out of the garden, all part of his plan. Okay. I'm just seeing if there's anything else in this article that I could use. And interesting, it's a tree of knowledge that is being denied humans, and yet God says to them, if you take of the tree of knowledge, you will die. Obviously, he's talking to them before they've taken from the tree of knowledge, so they're really, really, really naive and ignorant. Do they know what the hell death is? There is no death where, as far as they know. I mean, anyway, I've said all these things before in former videos. Okay, this is just a stupid story about Genesis. There's got to be other stuff. Okay, because we all know that the stupid story of Genesis is really stupid. What, did snakes walk upright before God cursed the snake? Who wasn't even a snake? He was Satan. Satan apparently inhabits. Actually, Satan isn't. The serpent doesn't become Satan until the New Testament. He's just a talking snake in the Old Testament. It's kind of like a make-it-up-as-you-go religion. When it was, the Old Testament, God was an evil bastard. He went around ordering wholesale slaughter of entire civilizations, genocide, I guess that's the same thing, infanticide, and rape of virgin girls, and slavery, and theft. He orders, the soldiers of Israel to pillage and plunder. So that's the God of the Old Testament. And Satan in the Old Testament is like his employee. He's the guy that God sends to do the crappy stuff. He's the one that gets to be, he's the one that gets to torment Job. It's like he's actually up there talking to God like they're good friends. What do you think of Job? If you read the Old Testament, you realize that, first of all, you hardly hear of Satan. He's hardly even mentioned because he doesn't really exist yet as what he is. It's a New Testament invention to make the whole, you need to accept Jesus bit necessary, to make Christianity necessary, to make becoming a Christian and asking Jesus into your heart and being essentially one of the flock necessary. I saw a great video just recently on YouTube about, I think it's called The Evolution of Satan in the Bible. Great video. It says it very, very well, how Satan changes from the Old Testament to the New and what brings about the change. And it's all make it up as you go. So anyway, let's see what else. Okay, this article's completely useless. I started this video thinking I had something I could work with, and I don't. But yeah, it's a matter of logic. And I'm not a logical person, but I'm able to at least recognize basic facts and keep them straight. That comes from being a writer and being familiar with world building and creating a character, fleshing a character out. You have to establish rules when you build a world. When you create a world, you have to establish rules. Like the Earth has gravity, that's a rule. If you're making a planet from scratch, you have to come up with rules that are just the general basic rules. You can't have suddenly something happen and just say, oh, well, that's just because it's an alien planet. You have to have boundaries that make certain things impossible, even on an alien planet. So that's kind of the same thing with well, the Bible's a work of fiction. It's a fantasy novel. It's an anthology. It's a work of short stories and contributions that have been accumulated over a long time. That's basically what it is. One character fact about God is he knows everything. And he existed before everything else. So everything that was created by him. If we're going to believe Christianity, everything comes from God. Everything that has come from God. That would include Satan. That would include hell. That would include the angels that turned and betrayed God. Now here's a question. Is it possible to betray an entity that knows everything and can see the future? Did God feel betrayed when Satan turned? Is that possible? How can God feel betrayed if he knows ahead of time that it's going to happen? And in fact, when he made Lucifer, he made him to betray him. He made him to do this very thing because it was part of his ultimate plan. Satan had to betray him because it was written in the script. If Satan didn't betray him, then this, and this wouldn't have happened. And these things needed to happen. So it was absolutely essential that Satan betrayed him. And God made Satan to betray him. So is it betrayal if Satan is doing what he was meant to do and made to do? How is that betrayal? That is an employee doing what he was made to do. He's doing his job. He was given a really sucky job to do. Okay, you get to be the one that gets to fall, and basically I get to treat you like shit, and you get to crawl on your belly in the ground, and everybody is going to hate you because you're the one that I'm going to do my evil through. And that's just it. Satan works for God. Satan never stopped working for God because Satan is weaker than God. And Satan is doing what God made him to do and what he was intended to do. He is still working for God to this day. So, what a crappy job. You know, is God going to destroy him? No, because he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing God's will. It's all God's will. So whatever evil, people want to assign all the evil, what evil deeds did Satan do in the Bible? Satan did those evil deeds, whatever they are, because our article here doesn't really say, because God wanted him to. It's all part of God's will. And no, I don't think that there is such a thing as free will. Christians will say, oh, well, yeah, free will. We all have free will. How can there be free will when the being that creates us, supposedly this God, knows ahead of time every decision we're going to make, every turn in the road we're going to take, everything that crosses our path that influences us and causes us to change our mind, every new fact that we learn that maybe causes us to doubt, every doubt that we have, that's all part of his plan. And in fact, us becoming atheists, those of us who do, part of his plan. It's all part of his plan. There can be nothing that we do that surprises him or disappoints him or takes him off guard. He knows everything ahead of time, and it's all a part of his plan. And I'm starting to sound like a broken record. This is what I've said in my other videos. That includes what Satan does. Everything that Satan does, whatever evil deeds Satan does, it's because it's on his to-do list. God gave him for that day. So, I really feel like the guy who orchestrated the whole thing, the guy who made the bad guy and put him on the earth and said, here, this is what I want you to do, and I won't stop you. You know, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do, and I'm not going to stop you. But in the end, you know, you're going to have to suffer because that's because I'm a bastard. You know, it's kind of like him making humans flawed deliberately flawed so that we would sin because we needed to sin because that was part of his plan, and then punishing us for being flawed and being what he made us to be and doing what he wanted us to do. Punishing us for being what we are. That's what he does. He makes things flawed, and then he punishes those things for being flawed and for doing what he wants because it's part of his plan. That's evil. I think honestly, the more I think about the biblical God, the more I see this entity as just pure, sadistic, twisted, and malicious evil. And I feel bad. If luckily these characters don't exist, but if Satan did exist, I would feel bad for him. What a screwy, crappy job to have. And then everybody hates him. Satan is the arch villain. Everybody hates him. Why? He's doing what he was meant to do. And who set that up? Who made him? Who put him on the earth to cause bad things to happen? And that's another thing. If everything comes from God, so does evil. God is the wellspring that feeds Satan, that feeds evil, that feeds hate. And if you want proof of that, just look at Christianity. Just look at the average everyday Christian. Most of them are pretty nice people, pretty good people, pretty caring people. But look at the ones that are foaming at the mouth, rabid, fundamental Christians. They love to hate. They feed. It's like they can't get enough of it. They are first in line. Whenever there's something to hate, they're the ones at the front of the line holding the banners. God hates fags. Westboro Baptist Church. These pastors that are talking about putting gays behind fences, or I think we should the Bible says that we should kill gays. This religion, the more somebody immerses themselves into it, the more fundamental, the more literally they take the Bible, the more whatever, the more fanatical they become, the more hateful they become, the more needing to hate they become. And where does this all come from? Well, if there was such a thing as God, I'm thinking it comes from him. I'm thinking that he's the one that they worship. He's the one that supposedly is pleased by this religion. I think it all comes from him, not Satan. Satan is just the poor sap that was made to be the scapegoat that we're all supposed to hate and blame all the bad, evil deeds on, when all he's doing is God's will. He's doing what God made him to do. God's holding his leash. So anyway, this is not exactly the way I wanted the video to go. I was really hoping to have an organized video, and I was hoping this article would present actual things that Satan did in the Bible, and then I could explain why ultimately God was behind those things. But I can't. Oh, well, I can come up with one on my own. This is one that really doesn't sit right with me. Pharaoh saying no to Moses. Who makes Pharaoh say no? Is it Satan? Is it Satan in his heart making him hateful and angry and wanting to, he's too proud to say, yes, you can go to Moses? No, it says right in the Bible that it's God hardening Pharaoh's heart. So Pharaoh says no. Who knows what Pharaoh would have said if it hadn't been for God hardening his heart? Why would God do that? Why prolong this whole Moses coming down and talking to Pharaoh, and then God gets to do these bad things to Egypt, and Pharaoh still says no, so God gets to do more bad things to Egypt, and why just let Pharaoh say yes in the first place and then not have to do all those bad things? Why harden Pharaoh's heart? basically preventing him from saying yes, making him say no. Oh, I know why. Because we want to kill all the firstborn children in Egypt. God's answer to everything, kill the kids. We won't kill the ones that are pissing us off. We're going to kill the innocent kids. That's what God does. That's what God's all about. He kills the innocent and the vulnerable. He's a baby killer. And there's no evidence of Satan in the story at all. It says right in the Bible, God's behind it all. God is the one doing the evil. So anyway, happy little video. I just, this again, I recommend the, ouch, my dog just bit my foot accidentally. She's trying to tug on my sock and she's biting my feet. It feels really not so good. The evolution of Satan in the Bible, I recommend the video. If I can find it, I will put the link in my in the description on this video because it's a lot better than this video. It's well researched and very interesting, and I highly recommend it. So thanks for watching if you have. Bye.